It's all changed now. Really, Gap is back. And that's the reason why you're seeing the strength. I mean, if you look at Old Navy, their comp sales were up 7%. The namesake brand Gap was up 6%. And the company is drawing more and more consumers, including higher end consumers, particularly with the GapStudio line, which they feature Gwyneth Paltrow and daughter Apple. And then also with their collabs. Their latest collab includes Gap X Sandy Liang, and then also the Béis, the luggage company here in Los Angeles. So their collaborations, their viral ad campaigns, including Better in Denim, which just really created billions of impressions and over 400 million views, has really, really brought this brand back into the light. And so that's why you're seeing such strong performance. And even though the company raised the guidance, we think there's further upside from there. So we don't think it just ends with the great quarter this quarter. We think we're going to see further momentum during the holiday season.
Well, when you say it's back, I mean, are we back to its heyday of the 1990s?
Yes, we are. Definitely.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
Why do I not see that, Carol?
So
like what? Maybe because I'm like,
beauty,
a dad of toddlers, and like I'm not. But like the Gap that I remember in the early '90s or the mid '90s was like, my parents would have friends come visit from Europe, and we'd go to the Gap with them
because they wanted to go.
They wanted to buy stuff. It was a tourist destination, and they'd bring it back.
See, and Mary, I did a lot of Gap Kids when my daughter was younger, but I haven't been there in a long time.
What are we missing?
But now you're starting to see it again. I'm starting to see photos with Gap on the kids. My friends are sending me photos of their kids wearing Gap.
So in terms of like, I'm looking at a chart, Gap was, I don't know, around 36. I know you guys don't, talk necessarily share price and so on and so forth, but is it a stock that's on its way, continuing to move higher? Because
and it's at 24 right now.
It's at 24 right now. So was 36 kind of crazy, or like, how do you think about in terms of the growth of the business and then how it might be illustrated or apparent in the share price to come?
Yeah. So Carol, it's a really good question. And the way we're looking at Gap, it's really a multi-year story in this situation. So yes, I mean, first of all, beauty is going to be new. It's debuting right now with Old Navy. It's very small, but that could be a big category. And they're doing it very thoughtfully. They have expertise that they have brought in. It's also going to be extended into the Gap brand. Also, they're really taking accessories and building that up. So these are still new, but every category that they're adding, if you look at what's going on with Old Navy, they have puffers at Old Navy. And when you look at the value there, it's incredible. And that's one of their best sellers at Old Navy are those puffers,
like I think
among other things. And they just,
well, I was thinking about Aritzia, right? Like, I mean, they have puffer jackets, and I know my daughter had to have one, and like we had to buy, but every season you see them roll out, and they're not inexpensive, like, and they're really popular. Aritzia?
Yeah.
Just wait.
This is not part of the Gap conversation,
till your daughter
right?
Is
this is not
older.
part of the Gap. I'm just making sure.
Yeah.
To be fair, we do.
Yeah, but the Super Puff is really big at Aritzia.
Okay.
Yeah. So it is.
To be fair, we do order a lot of Old Navy.
This is a very affordable Super Puff.
Okay, I'm looking at the Super Puff on Aritzia's website right now.
No, but
There's
they're like, your kids want to, right? Like, these are things that like kids really want. So,
okay, so I'm curious about Athleta.
Yeah,
how's Athleta doing? If Gap, the core Gap brand is doing well and Old Navy's doing well, how's Athleta doing?
And Banana Republic is doing well. Their comps were up 4%.
Wow.
So Athleta was down 11%. That was kind of as expected. And that's the only brand in the portfolio that's in a true turnaround stage. So we're not seeing traction there. But one thing that's going to come out on the earnings call is when are we going to start to see the momentum turn there? They brought in somebody from Nike. There's a real effort there, and that will get turned around. It's a strong brand, but they need to get the assortments right. And that's something that we're going to start to see improvement. It's probably going to be more of a transition year next year. And then maybe in 2027 is where we'll see that turn. But 70% of the business is Old Navy and Gap. So it's the biggest part of the company.
And we've got all the brands, right? Gap, Banana Republic, Old Navy, and Athleta, right? That's it?
Exactly.
Interesting. How are they dealing with all the tariff stuff?
Yeah, so the tariffs have hit the company. I mean, they noted in the quarter that they had, I think it was like 170 basis point hit in the quarter. But I think, with the stronger sales momentum, they're doing a really good job mitigating as much as they can. We'll see more of those mitigation measures take effect next year, with the second half really seeing some improvement in 2026. So, everyone's getting hit with the tariffs, and I think most companies will be able to overcome it. It'll just take some time to sort of run through. So they'll be affected in this quarter and in the fourth quarter and perhaps in the first half. But we think that with the measures they're putting into place, we're going to see those margins turn around. And look, the margins already came in better than expected, and they raised margin guidance. And we still think there's upside from there, even looking at their guidance for the fourth quarter.
Well, Mary, I'm thinking too that if they're doing fragrances and stuff, I mean, the margins on that kind of stuff, if it really takes off, that can be certainly a big driver, top line as well as in margins. So I guess that's one of the growth areas going forward, as you mentioned.
Yeah, that and the collaborations that they're doing.
Yeah.
They do more full price selling. That also aids the margins too.
I didn't know they were doing Aveeno and Nutra. Is it Gina or Jenna? I never say it correct. It used to be the J&J brands. I had family that worked for J&J.
Are they still? They're part of.
It's Kenvue, right?
Yeah, Kenvue. Yeah.
So those are the collabs that they're doing, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right, and more. Yes.
I guess it's time for me to. We used to
time
have a Gap.
You to go to the Gap.
Well, we used to have a Gap right across the street, and certainly when
in Manhattan,
right across the street from us, from Bloomberg here in New York. And I used to go all the time for when my daughter was little and get Gap Kids stuff. But they haven't been there, so I haven't been in. All right, we've got to go. We got to do a road trip. Should we talk Ross stores?
Yeah, let's talk Ross stores because
also rallying.
Yeah, also rallying. The company out with the latest results, pulling it up here on the Bloomberg terminal. The stock climbs after that third quarter earnings beat. Third quarter, the company sees fiscal year EPS $6.38 to $6.46. It saw $6.08 to $6.21. The estimate was for $6.27. Mm-hmm. Shares moving higher in the after hours. What is Ross doing that's working so well?
Up more than 3%.
Yeah, so that's what it is. It's the brands that they have. It's the same thing that we saw with TJX when they reported their quarter, but it's even stronger. I mean, if you look at Ross, their comp sales came in 2x what consensus was expecting. So very strong at 7% there for Ross stores. And also their margins are better too. They really did a good job with expense controls in the quarter. And they did have a bit of a tariff impact, which they'll probably talk about more on their earnings call. So I think what's happening here is that off price, because of the assortment of brands that they have, and those brands include things like Kate Spade, Michael Kors, Karl Lagerfeld, Calvin Klein, you name it. They have those brands, and the consumer is seeing the tremendous value that they're getting by buying these name brands and being able to get it at such great value. And so that really shows that we're going to have good momentum for the holidays. And when we look at the transaction data, we see that their fourth quarter for Ross and also for Gap are already off to a good start based on that data.
As we said, Ross stores up 3.2% in the aftermarket. The company's CEO on the call saying, we are optimistic about our prospects for the holiday season, driven by our ongoing focus on delivering quality branded merchandise at exceptional value. So some optimism there, Tim.
Okay, so Mary Ross, before we let you go, Dick's Sporting Goods, Kohl's, Best Buy, Burlington, Abercrombie & Fitch, those are all companies we are waiting to hear from. Big picture expectations. I know it's not a monolith, but can you go through some of them and tell us how you're thinking about it?
Sure. So for Abercrombie & Fitch, we're seeing some weakness with the namesake brand. That's Abercrombie. Hollister should show good numbers, but they could be less than what they're expecting in terms of the comp sales gain. Abercrombie is cycling 4 years of double-digit comparable sales increases, and that's why it's really tough for them to generate an increase. And so the estimate for the quarter is for Abercrombie to be down around 4%. So we're seeing some, it's the tough figures for Abercrombie. For Kohl's, there's consensus is estimating a decline in sales. They're still working to get things right-sided, get the assortments right, get enough private brands back, jewelry coming back in. So, we're thinking that they'll probably meet expectations, but those expectations are for a decline and weak margins. So there's going to be a lot of focus on how it looks for the holiday, where the monthly comp sales were for Kohl's for next week.